but not after a crazy final 10 minutes there as well here in the stadium. Here to tuck into all of that action is Trevor Sinclair and Darius Vassell. Darius, I'll come to you first. What was your assessment of them first 45 minutes?
Yeah, I think it was to be as expected. City dominated the first half. They didn't so much dominate it with chances, but certainly with possession. I think it's 79% it ended up being. But Brentford had opportunities on the break, on the counter-attack, which is where they may be getting their success today if they were to get some. I don't think City will be completely pleased with the performance in terms of goals. They would be wanting to be raining shots in on goal and getting some more chances. But going in 1-0 up at half-time, it stands them in good stead for the second half.
Absolutely, and we'll get to that goal in just a second. But on that, Trev, of course, I think, like you say, it felt like maybe we could have done with a few more chances. How much of it is that it just wasn't quite clicking for City and how well Brentford were working?
I think the latter. I think Brentford have got 5 at the back. The 2 screeners are very, very deep as well. So it's almost like you've got 7 defenders on the edge of their box. So it's very difficult to break that down. Them not making mistakes until the goal, so they were staying on their feet, they were sticking to task, they were tracking runners, they were communicating well together. So it's really difficult. The spaces that you can try and manipulate are very, very little, and we were finding it difficult. We had a lot of possession, as Darius said, but to actually create clear-cut chances, we were finding it very difficult until the mistake, which is what I said before the game. I said it's when they win the ball back, how brave they are, and the decision-making skills that they have will kind of set the game out, because if they make mistakes on the edge of their own box and give the way, I think that's when they're most vulnerable, and that's the way it turned out.
It's exactly what happened. Well, let's have a little focus on the goal, and then maybe focus upon the player who won the penalty. But it was Raheem Sterling who kind of drove forward, and as you'd say, maybe you've got to be asking questions of the Brentford defenders, should he be sliding in there? But I think Sterling he'd been giving them fullbacks a bit of a nightmare all half, hadn't he?
Yeah, of course, and that's what Sterling does, and to be fair, he makes a bit of space for himself to get a cross in, which is what City were forced to do. The majority of the first half is cross the ball in, which is good work from Brentford. If you're forcing City to do something which is not their strength, then that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think the fullback or the defender, he forces Raheem into trying to get a cross in, which is good. It's good work. But when he makes that decision to slide, he has to make sure he's not making contact with the player. I can understand the slide tackle to intercept a cross, which you almost just sliding yourself out of play, but you can get chopped and things like that. I think the key is stay on your feet, force him back out, force another 3 or 4 passes, and take a cross in from wide out by the touchline and try and defend that.
Yeah.
Wrong decision on this occasion from him.
It was, but better for Manchester City, and then it was, of course, who seems to be now our penalty taker. Finally, we have one. Riyad Mahrez coolly dispatched, and it was a lovely pen, wasn't it?
Excellent penalty. We were just talking as we were watching it, and Darius said it's going to go to his right, and he went to his left. Oh, he's changing the goals. No, it's a great penalty, and he's gone both ways, hasn't he? So you've seen in the African Cup of Nations how the goalkeepers were looking at bottles to see where individual penalty takers go. I think if you can mix it up like Riyad Mahrez is doing, they don't know where to go. So you've got him on toast, because he does go both ways, and it was dispatched super. I don't think 2 goalkeepers would have saved that.
No, I wondered, if either of you took penalties, did you have a set place to go, or would you go off feeling? I've always wondered that.
Just feeling, yeah. For me personally, at the time, look at what the keeper's doing. Is the keeper nervous or anything like that? And then just pick my spot and go for it. A lot of the time, I picked left, and then it ended up in the middle, and it was
oh, yeah.
I can tell you that now.
Yeah. What about you, Trev?
I only took one for West Ham. Scored it.
100%.
Always give it. Looked like I was going to go to my right-hand side, and if the keeper didn't cheat, I would always go to the left. If he cheated to go to that side, I would just slot it. So I didn't have any kind of delayed run-up or anything like that. It was pretty basic, but it's all in the accuracy, repetition.
Now, we had a couple of chances, of course, just before that penalty came in. We had Sterling, who in the ball got played across, I think, a great save from their keeper, Riyad, and you also had the bicycle kick. That was some technique he had there, wasn't it, to take that shot on from the Phil Foden ball. How difficult is it to do what Sterling did there, and how unlucky was it?
I don't want to sound blasé about it, but me Darius has scored one of them for England. I've scored a few in my career. And it's almost like I'd rather do that skill than head the ball. Because if it comes into a certain area, coming in from the right, I'm doing that all day long. He'll be disappointed that he didn't score there, or at least hit the target. But yeah, I think I would have dispatched that, being honest.
Some would say one of the greatest overhead kicks of all time. Some might say. And we were speaking about goal scoring defenders before the game. Of course, as you were saying, crosses into the box were key. But then it wasn't a header, it was actually the Laporte rolled chance that just went wide of the post. Oh, yeah. So unlucky, but actually, again, seeing a central defender with such a finesse of a finish, it's effortless, isn't it?
Yeah, it's effortless, and if it was to go in, that's a goal of a striker. He's looking like a striker as he's doing it. And lo and behold, with the players that he's playing with and training with every day, it's no surprise, and obviously the ability that he's got, that he doesn't lash at it, that he doesn't end up flying over the bar.
Yeah.
Those are the type of misses that you see from City. They're quite close, they're not too far away, and it's no surprise why they do end up scoring a few goals.
I was surprised because he was on his right foot, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so he chested it and put it on his weaker foot, by all accounts, and it's probably missed by centimetres. So
Inches.
really good technique, and something you'd expect a midfielder or forward to do. So fair play to him.
Absolutely. And then, of course, at the end there was a little bit of a heart in the moment stuff. They kind of broke down here, which was on our left-hand side, just outside the studio. Cut back in, very brave for Edison. But as you said, Darius, you know, you look at that and maybe the first fans thought would be John Stones with a mistake, but actually you said he did everything right. And it was just unlucky.
I feel for him there because the ball was in the air a long time. He did what you'd want your defender to do. He checked his shoulders to make sure he had time to bring it down, and he did. He was getting closed down, and with his ability, he fancied himself to bring it down and obviously keep possession. Just at the wrong moment, he slips and he loses his footing, and you can see it, he knows it. Yeah. And it's hard when you're in that situation because momentum means that they're good in position and he couldn't get back in. But fair play to the goalkeeper, brave, strong, made a good interception, and fortunately enough comes out unscathed and can play on.
Yeah, it was nice to see him back on the feet. But how much do we see that of Edison?
Yeah, he's a man. We've seen it for one of his first games against Liverpool when he got a few stitches in the side of his face with the Mane challenge. Yeah. And I think it just shows what his character's like. He played the next game. He obviously had to come off in that game, played the next game. And for me, straight away, I'd made my mind up about him as a goalkeeper. And I think he's improved since been at the club. His goalkeeping ability. We all know about his kicking and how calm he is in possession of the ball, which is obviously coincides with what Pep wants to do in the way he wants to keep possession. But also, I think as a goalkeeper and the basics of a goalkeeper, he's improved on that as well.
Yeah, absolutely has. I wanted to ask you, this was a WhatsApp question that came in from Laura. Remember, you can get these into us on our WhatsApp number. Just while we have, of course, we have Diaz, Stones and Laporte on the pitch. Question to you both. Who do you think, or who is your preferred partnership? Is it Laporte-Diaz, Stones-Diaz, or is it Stones-Laporte?
I think it's difficult. I think really you would want a left footer in there. Yeah, so you would want Laporte in there. But for me, last season performances from John Stones and Diaz and the bromance that they seem to have, I love that spirit.
Yeah.
And you know, they made it work. Whoever was on the left hand side in possession, they would deal with it. And they're so good technically, all the Manchester City defenders anyway. So for me, I would go with Diaz and Stones.
You agree, Darius?
No, I don't. I would always put Laporte in there for that left foot, yeah. But I couldn't answer the second part, so I think Trevor wins on that one. I couldn't pick between the other two left over. That's a really good question, by the way.
Class.
Yeah.
And actually, as well, we touched on it before, but I guess, you know, maybe you have two right footers, but if you have got that chemistry and understanding, that actually can kind of alleviate that kind of partnership to another level.
And if he gets uncomfortable, you've always got the pivot, and he's so safe in possession. You know, when you talk about Edison, he's as good as most of the players on the pitch, technically, with the ball at his feet. So if you're getting pressed, you always know you've got that safety valve there as a pivot to go back to him, and then again go on the second phase, make the angle, and if a defender's coming across, it'll open up a passing lane for somebody else to receive the ball. So there's a lot of rotation in there, and it's very difficult to press Manchester City.
So we obviously look into the second half as well. We're in a great position there for Manchester City. We're carrying on as well, I think, over the last 17 years. We've 17 times we played on a Wednesday, we've won, fingers crossed. But obviously wanted maybe a few more chances. What do you think City or Pep might be looking to do in the second half, if anything, Darius?
I think it'll be more of the same. Dominate the possession. There should be more gaps opening up later on in the game. Teams tend to make more mistakes. We all know this. And City will look at their bench as well, what players that they can bring on. My thoughts are that...
I'm looking at the bench there, just feeling sorry for the Brentford players, I've got to be honest, because there's a lot of talent there to come off the bench as well. You know, players that in any other team will probably start in most games.
And in a game like this, they'll be itching to get on the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely.
This game, if you're on the bench and you're a forward or a player who thinks or their game or surrounds their game around the idea of goals, it's perfect. We just says that it's a beautiful night. You know, 1-0 up. You know, you've got quality players around you. Get yourself one for the last 20 minutes when they're all tired, and go and grab yourself a goal. So it's made for it.
Absolutely. Thank you, gents. Right, let's take a little look at our games then that we played throughout our show. And this is where we love you guys getting involved. I'm going to begin with Who's Stat. You have 3 clues. You've already had 2. Let me bring you those first of all. The first clue is this. This player is a Premier League Goal of the Month winner this season. Clue number 2. This player is a full international for a world top 10 ranked European country. And your final clue. This player has a degree in management and business administration, and that is the one that seals it for me. That is the one. Now, I've seen a couple guesses. Werner, who's got in touch on WhatsApp, I can tell you that you are incorrect. We've had a few coming on Twitter as well, some great guesses, but only a couple of them getting right. Maybe that third one will give it away. Get them in, we'll reveal at full time who stat that is. Now let's take a look at Cryptic City, and we looked at this before the game, and it's very difficult to decipher this. Let's have a look, shall we? Okay. Talk us through. The reason I've got my phone out is I'm trying to see what some of the guesses are.
You're cheating.
I know, but I don't think any of them are correct. So if we were to break down the first club, I'm guessing maybe I'm thinking Colonel or something. Yeah, I'd say Colonel. Violin, strings. Wouldn't know. Fourth clue. Party, out night.
Hen.
Maybe hen, nice. I think that could be, yeah. What would you say for the fourth? Like, tongue?
Why has it got
crack tongue? It's difficult this week.
That's a tough one.
We've got to Daryl. We've got to producer Daryl too much. He's thought we're going to give you a really, really difficult one this week. He is winning at the moment. Well, if you're thinking actually no, he's not, get your guesses in please to us to hashtag Man City, or you can use that WhatsApp number as well, and we'll put a few more questions to our guests. I'm going to give you this one more from WhatsApp, which came in and said, if not yourselves, were there any players that you played at City that you would love to have seen in this Pep team?
Go on, Joe.
I'd like to see Anelka in this team. I think Anelka would be sensational.
Yeah.
Quick, technical, play on the shoulder, really stretch teams and give space for the midfield players, and he's a finisher.
Yeah.
And I think with a player with that amount of pace, he'd love to be playing with Edison as well, with the ability that he's got with the ball at his feet. If they're pressing high and trying to squeeze Manchester City from playing out from the back, it's a great foil to have someone like Nicholas in the team with his pace. He'll just put it he'll put it on his postage stamp and say, get after that, and he'd probably find himself one-on-one with the keeper.
So true. I'm just thinking about, imagine Mahrez on one side and then Anelka on the other. That over the first touch as well from the both of them. Frightening. Well, listen, the boys are in the tunnel, so that's going to be it from myself and the boys who are in the studio. Come join us at full time. We'll talk about the rest of the action. Then, of course, as well, we're going to be looking ahead to Norwich, which is our next game. But before that, another 45 minutes lie ahead against Brentford. Manchester City 1, Brentford 0. Join us at full time, and hopefully we'll be talking about another 3 points on the Premier League leaderboard. Come on, City.